Hi, welcome to my Craft of Writing series, part 2, Characterization, writing that three-dimensional character, and today we're going to be focusing on personality types and character traits. So let's get to it. First of all, let's talk about why. Again, why is it so important to write that three-dimensional character? I spoke on it a little bit in my last video, and I'm just going to add a little more today. Do you have those favorite authors that you read and you reread and you come back and you look at their book and sometimes you sit and you ask yourself, why do I have so many books by this author? Because maybe that author isn't so great at plots, or maybe that author isn't really awesome at endings. Like the book doesn't feel finished when it's finished. There could be a lot of different reasons why, but you're just like, why do I keep reading it? And chances are, if you're like me, it's going to be one of two things. If you're not like me, it could be something else. But if you're like me, it's one of two things. Either that author excelled in bringing out the emotion in the story, or they write such engaging characters you want to know what those characters are doing, even if what they're doing doesn't always make a lot of sense. That said, characterization and writing a really three-dimensional character, and not just one, but all of your characters in your book having some level of dimension to them, can save a book from ignominy. It can bring a book to a higher level. It can make your story stick in the mind and the hearts of your readers because they think about those characters later. So it's up to you how well you want to characterize. But one thing we're going to start with is this. It isn't your reader's job to imbue your character with a personality. It is not your reader's job to imbue your character with character traits. It's not your reader's job to decide what motivates your character or why they're motivated that way. It's up to you as the author to give your reader a fully realized character that they can embrace, not a half-baked character they have to finish creating in their own head. Okay? Now, I'm not saying, like with physicality, you can be as specific with physicality as you like, or you can leave it a little vague by giving some very indicative physical character implications. I don't know how to say that better. You don't necessarily say that your character has brown hair, but you say your character has hair that shines in the sunlight or something. Maybe you want to be a little bit vague. That's possible. When you're talking about the physicality of your character, you may want to be a little vague. I choose not to anymore because I know that more readers than not prefer me to give a deeper character description. That's fine if you choose to write a little differently. But when you're talking about personality, you don't have that option. You do not get to write part of your character and expect your reader to use their imagination to fill in the rest, because your personality and the character traits that drive your character to be who they are is too integral to your book. Maybe it's not as important whether they have brown hair or blonde hair or they've gone all gray. Maybe that doesn't matter. I don't know. It's your story. What I will tell you is it does matter if you can describe your character as generous or penny pinching or open-hearted or very private or assertive or shy or any of the number of character traits that we do use to describe our characters. If your reader is at the end of the book or even midway through and they can't tell you any character traits of your main protagonist especially, but even of your secondary characters, you haven't done your job. I'm just going to say that, okay? Now, this is also where the geek in me comes out, because I love to research. I used to tell the story about when I wrote my first Regency historical. I read 57 nonfiction books on the Regency era, on historical culture, fashion, science, on plumbing, on everything. I interviewed experts in the field. I just, because I like to research. And then I wrote a book. a book. Now, I ended up writing 4 Regency historicals and doing more research on each one as I went. But my point is, I do like to research, and you may not be that person, but if you are, then you're going to love reading several books on personality types like I did. Maybe going to start, I started with Gary Smalley's many years ago. Let's not talk about how many years ago, but I read his book on the personality types he based on animals. And then later, the Myers-Briggs test and personality types, which they have 16. And then, there's other personality types, other books. There's a Harriman. I can't remember his first name, but he did the whole brain theory. I will include links to these personality types in a blog that I'm posting on my website so that you can kind of get links for all of these videos as I'm doing. I'm not going to repeat what I'm saying here in the video in the blog, but I will give you a list of links to look up for easy access. Like there's already links up on ways to describe your character, descriptive terms. I've got a couple of really good links you can reference on descriptive terms. And now I'll put up some links on personality types, right? So that you can look up. So you may want to know your exact personality type of your character. You may want to write a little bit more intuitively and just know their character traits. But I highly recommend, after you've gotten kind of into the story if you're a seat of the pants writer, or before you get into the story if you're a plotter, to take some time and jot down your character traits that are most important to your protagonist, your main protagonist, but also to any secondary characters you know are going to be in the story. Then as you're writing the story, please remember that each character you introduced, whether they're the UPS guy, or the main protagonist's mother, they have a personality type and they have character traits as well. And so it's very important that you know these things. So even if you're only sharing a little tiny bit of what you know about your characters with your reader, each character, small or big in the story, has a fully realized personality type. And what is really key, I think, sometimes to realize is that when we write our characters, some of us tend to write characters that are larger than life or that are just not common. Okay, so your personality types may not be the 50% of the population shares similar personality traits or character traits or these personality types. You might be writing the 3% personality type, or people that are in the more 15 percentile or whatever. I'm just saying that it's more typical when we write our fictional characters, when we write them larger than life, that we're not writing your average Joe. While they may come off as average in certain ways, whether it's what job they do or how they talk or something else, there's other things about our characters that make them unique. And that's important to know what those things are. Like, I'm highly aware that when I write my Harlequin Presents, my heroes are not penniless. Okay, I know they're not. My readers would be shocked to their toenails if I wrote a book about a penniless hero. It just isn't part of that brand, and it's not part of those stories. Does that mean that there aren't things about my heroes that are very relatable to regular people? No. Because I try very hard to write a character that, while he may live in a different tax bracket than most of us, he still has a personality that we can identify with, that people maybe it's not our personality, but it's people we see, people we know, people we aspire to know. It's important that when your characters are finished, when your book is done, or even, and as I've said, it needs to happen in the beginning, right? But when you're finished writing, when the final edits are done and you look back at that story, each character is 3-dimensional, not 2-dimensional, not a placeholder, not a stump, not a robot, but a 3-dimensional character. So that 3-dimensional character has a personality type, and for me, it's easier to know what that is. For you, it may not be, but I do strongly recommend you know what personality types are. You take some time to read a book or read some really good blogs on it, or watch some vlogs on YouTube or something about personality types, so that you're going into this knowledgeably. It's not that we use every bit of knowledge we have, right? It's that we have the knowledge to feed the well so that we can write really good books. And it's hard to write a really good book that's relatable to a lot of readers when we're ourselves very ignorant of different types of personalities other than our own. So it may not be intuitive for you to go seeking out different personality types, but maybe it is. I don't know. I am just saying it's a great idea to read a book or a blog or watch a vlog or watch a documentary on it. But educate yourself, because being a good writer, part of being a good writer is to be educated, not have a degree, not have a specific type of education, but to educate ourselves in the areas that we write in. So if you write about people, most of us do, then understanding people and how they work is key. So I have tons on my research shelf, tons of books on psychology, and I'm not saying you need to read 15 books on psychology in order to write a good book, but I do really recommend that you have some rudimentary understanding of what a personality type is. And that said, again, character traits. Now, I did include, or will be including, links on definition of character traits. Let's just go through a few right now. Like I mentioned some earlier, let's mention some more. Character traits can be things like sorry, I'm drawing a total blank. I had this all written out. Well, that's kind of how it goes sometimes, right? You're sitting there and you're writing and you're like, what was I going to write next? But when we're talking about character traits, we're talking about what people are like. So are they friendly? Are they kind? Are they introverted? Are they stubborn? Are they easygoing? Are they forgiving? Are they not forgiving? Are they really focused on justice? Are they super smart? Are they super smart in one area but not so smart in another? Are they really intuitive with other people? Are they very unintuitive with other people? I mean, these are character traits, and it's important to know what your character is like. And because I will tell you that when you write a character and like 75% of the book, the character has a certain character trait, and then you want to move the plot a certain way, so you could just kind of change that character trait, you're going to really irritate your readers. You are also going to lose them because people don't identify with characters that don't stay. Like, growth is one thing, right? Growth is good, and you can show growth in a novel. But when you just haphazardly change something because you want to move the plot a certain direction, you're sort of betraying your character, but you're also betraying your reader because you're sort of writing in a really lazy way. There are more than one way to get to that end point. There always is. And if you take the easiest way, and the easiest way means redefining your character, and you don't go back to the very beginning of the book and redefine them from the beginning, but then I guarantee that's going to change a lot in your story. You've taken the easy way. And I don't recommend that. I recommend very strongly sticking with character consistency, right? So if you know their character traits, if you know their personality type, it is easier for you to stay consistent with your characters. Okay, so that said, I highly recommend, I'll post a link to the blog post so that you can go have a look at these different character personality types, and also a link I've got there on listing different character traits, which just makes it easy. It might get your imagination flowing. I find that just looking at words, I like to read the dictionary. I like words, and words to me are inspirational, and they help me to go to that next level. You feed the well, then the well gives you your imagination, your creativity, and that next story idea, that storyline. So happy writing, and until next time, it's Lucy Monroe.